Hi, my name is Mark Stallard. Welcome to Little Green Man. This is part 3 in our 7-part series on the balanced budget doctrine. Why do Conservatives hate debt? Well, it is odd that government debt actually makes corporations richer. The private banks that borrow the money get to not spend as much tax because of the low corporate taxes, but instead of paying taxes, they can lend the money to the government, who then get that money back with interest. So they should love it. So the private sector and the corporations and the neoliberals, conservatives should love debt because it takes money out of your pocket and gives it to corporations and the rich people that own them. But they don't. They actually are not really enjoying this debt. Now the problem is, a little bit of a recap here, that is, if we were to fairly tax them, then they wouldn't make money elsewhere. Even if that tax is just a fairly small amount, if there is government debt, then they will make lots of money, as David Camfield from the University of Manitoba wrote on the CBC. This is about 18 months ago. This was written, source in the description with everything else. If income is raised and debt is abolished, the bottom will fall out of the state/country bond market. Rich people who invest in these bonds won't get richer. They are no risk, guaranteed by the state's national bank, and that scares the pants off them. So they hate taxes. So you've got to have taxes. There are several reasons why they hate them. This is a good one. So they love they love debt, but at the same time they hate it as well. So it's like they're fighting with each other, a little bit of a like Jekyll and Hyde thing going on, I guess. So why do they hate it? Well, I'll tell you, is that debt keeps the public sector alive. Now, the public sector are those things that provide the public services, the infrastructure, roads, healthcare, pretty much everything that the government. I'll be talking about that, just a little bit more about the details of what some of those things are in the next part 4. But they hate the public sector. Now, why do they hate the public sector? And up here, so why does the private sector hate public services? Well, we're told that, just to back up just a little bit, is we get these smoke screens from the neoliberals from the right. From these, that is, why should we, the rich people and the powerful people, pay for the poor people? They should pull themselves up by the bootstraps because they have worked harder than the poor people and the other working people who are apparently not working hard enough. It is a ridiculous statement right off the top. I mean, the majority of people realize that's a stupid statement, particularly if they can realize that these rich people and the corporations and the powerful are talking about you. If you are working class, if you're middle class, they are talking about you. You have to work hard, otherwise you don't get what they've got. Now, the trouble is that this only applies to working people. This doesn't apply to their children, who did nothing to earn the money that they're going to inherit, and the lifestyle and the head start that they've got because they just happened to have popped out of a rich family. Suddenly they appeared. Now, here they have these big head starts. There are no bootstraps for second generation rich people. Absolutely none. So this is a lie. They don't really believe this, otherwise otherwise that dichotomy wouldn't exist. The real reason, then, is why they hate public services, is because it keeps they hate debt, is because it keeps the public sector alive. And the public sector can do something that private companies can never do. It can run at either break even. It doesn't have to make a profit, so it can break even, or it can even sometimes run at a loss. It can even, and so when when you have a free market, there's no such thing. But when you talk about the free market with the public sector wanting to make money in that area, they can't really compete. So that when you have let's look at the police service, something ridiculous. Why would we privatize that? There are private security companies, but when you bring in, you have a government that funds it, that has a little system, some bureaucracy around it to help run it, and every corporation has bureaucracy as well. That's not a negative word, it's just departmentalizing, organizing so that you can run things efficiently. That's all bureaucracy really means. But when you have too much bureaucracy, you can cut down and private companies can be good. They're not always, but they can be good at just trimming the fat off a little bit. But you have to have bureaucracy there. Every major multinational corporation has many different departments, some of which should do and don't talk to each other. It happens and it exists. But what government can do is it doesn't have to make a profit. Whereas a private corporation was, if we were to privatize the police service, for instance, the very first thing that would happen is, the first thing certainly on the mind of a private company is, where are we making our profit? Now, with your let's say you have $1 of tax, and that $1 goes towards the public service in question. A government can take that entire $1 and it can put it all towards that service. A private company, however, has that dollar, and maybe it decides it needs to make 10% profit, so it takes the 10% off the top, and now you only have 90 cents that can go towards the service. So now you've got 90 cents against $1, and they can't really compete. The best that a private company can do is break even. And in every instance of privatization, or privatizing government services, that at best they cost the same as publicly run services, but they almost always run far more expensive, and there are many issues with the private sector, which I've gone into in previous videos, and I'll probably do a few more as the months go by. So as it's not for profit, it hurts. And so the neoliberal reaction to this situation with these public services is to demonize taxes and demonize the debt. So if you cannot raise taxes to pay for your public services, and you can't you can't borrow money to pay for those public services, well, then you have no choice. You have to cut the services, and you chip away, and you chip away, and you chip away, until it's such a point that people outcry, "This hurts me, I don't like this," and it makes it so much easier to privatize. So taxes and public debt hurts capitalism's ability to profit from those public services if they were to be privatized. And it certainly explains the desperation to leave public services and privatize everything. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in part 4, and how balancing the budget and this doctrine just makes everything worse. Little green man.